Hey guys, I was just having a chat with my brother, and he reminded me of of being discriminated and by against by the vice principal at my high school, and he was a little redneck, and he was picking on a lot of. I've noticed that about him. All the people he targeted at that high school. The school is closed now. It's no longer open. It's called Sarjan A. McDonald's. And I was late. I can't remember, 15 or 10 minutes or whatever. I can't remember. But anyhow, after classes started, and I get there to class, and the teacher sent me to detention because I was late. And I think, what it happened, I don't know what happened, but anyhow. So I get there and he goes to me, well, you're going to be in detention 15 minutes, 20 minutes or something like that. And then you have to catch up with your work when you get there. And we're going to increase the detention every time you're late and stuff like that. And I've noticed in my, he always picking on people, like he picked on this people, like students, or the way they dress, or or they're having the dreadlocks, or the way they painted their nails, stuff like that. And it was very tactical. You could tell. Anyhow, I came to feed the bird. Not now, because they usually come in early, and I just don't feel like getting up early in the morning to do it. So bear with me, guys. So anyhow, to get back, he was picking mostly on people who are ethnic. If you wear your hair a certain way, you know, painted your nails like the girls and stuff. You're wearing shorts, and I felt like we are in army. What do you call it? In in the Navy, you know what I mean, or all these rules, and it was only him who was enforcing these rules, and always, and I've noticed that he doesn't do it to white people. If a white person, does, wear whatever they want to wear, he does not say, excuse my French, I was gonna say shit. Anyhow, he doesn't say anything. Like if you're ethnic, yeah. If you're an ethnic person, he would, pick on you, trying to get you written up for something, or, I know stuff. But anyhow, I got so pissed off. They send you to the principal office, and he has this big waiting area, and they keep you there. And for the 15 minutes or whatever, among them admins and whatever. So I was really pissed off. And what was it? So anyhow, I came up late again, and this time he decided to suspend me, and for like 5 days or something. But anyhow, I left, the office, and I ended up going straight to Board of Education. What is the Board of Education? Yeah, I think it was the Board of Education. I went straight to the Board of Education and filed a complaint against discrimination and how I was being treated, and stuff like that. And I even brought it to their attention. This guy, he has problem with black people or ethnic people who are now of color. Who are of color, and the person I spoke to, no, this cannot happen. We have to fix this. Da, 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 da. And I said to her, you can ask students. Mostly people of color have been sent to the office for BS reasons. Anyhow, they told me to go back to school. They spoke to the principal, and the principal told me, just come to my office when you come back. We'll deal with it, Budar. Because the principal was really nice. He spoke to me like a person. He didn't speak to me like with snotty little looking, that like this vice principal. He's a snotty little cunt, and he looks at you like I'm better than you or whatever. Anyhow, I get there and he pulled him in the office and he goes, "What's your problem with Budar?" And he goes, this is what happened. And he was making stuff. He was making some of the stuff up. Some of the stuff was accurate, but some of it was not true. But I couldn't really prove it. I could not prove it because his word against mine, and he's a vice principal, and they would believe him over me. So anyhow, the principal said to me, "Oh, well, we're not going to suspend you for 5 days," or something like that. So we considered, just go home for a couple of days and come back. 2 days. So it's the end of suspending for 2 days. I was like almost graduating, I was grade 11 or grade 12. I can't remember. It's been so long. And so anyhow, I went home and I came back in 2 days. And you could tell, I see him down the hallway. He's sizing me up, looking me up and down, trying to instigate something. You could tell he doesn't like me, And it's about race. He was among a few white English people in this country who think they are God Almighty. It's not even your country. Shut the hell up. Excuse my French. Anyhow, this is my first experience to racism. Then it happened again, but not to me. There was another Sudanese guy. He came from the U.S. and his name is Shazali. I think his name is Shazali. Yeah, and he was wearing braids, and of course he had to, okay. I'm gonna explain to you what's going on. This is like a public school. This is public school, not private school, to be treated like that way, Anyhow, this Shazali guy from Sudan, he came from the United States, and he was in school. And the VP also, picked on him, telling him this and that, and always calling him stuff. And Shazali was like, he has a temper, he doesn't like to be disrespected, I didn't beat this guy up. I should have beat his ass up, but I didn't. But anyhow, he says to him, he pulled him in the office for some BS reason again. You can tell it's like only the people going to the office are black or Indians or Hispanic, like that. It was not like white people. You don't go to the office, you see white people, And I'll tell you another story. I have another story to tell you. I'll to tag along with this one. But anyhow, I'll finish you this one first. So anyhow, he spoke to Shazali the same very demeaning way, disrespectful, and stuff like that. And he says to him, the mistake he made, he goes, "A boy like you should be doing better." That's what he said to him. He said to the guy, this students, he says, "A boy like you should be," because he knew if he used that term, this guy grew up in the US and he came to Canada with his family. And so he knows the derogatory term when you call him a black person a boy. You know, it's like doing the plantation back on the old days. It probably still is, you know, but it's a derogatory term. You cannot call a person, a black person especially, a boy, because it's like this is how white people treated black people back, you know. So anyhow, he knew he shouldn't, and this guy just got up and punched his daylight. He punched him right there. He threw him over the freaking desk on the other side. And anyhow, they end up, you know, kicking him out of school. And because he was a minor, he could not be charged. They couldn't charge him with anything or whatever. But anyhow, they ended up kicking him from school for beating the vice principal, you know. He beat his... And this guy, the vice principal, he came to school for maybe weeks with black eye. And I said, you know, and then I finished school. I think I graduated and didn't have to deal with him anymore. But it was very racist, you know. But anyhow, and the other thing that happened also, yeah, in high school. This is the only two incidents I could think of, you know. I was taking an art class, and when I was taking an art class, and I had this teacher, she was very nice, very super nice to me, you know, our art teacher I had. And I'm trying to remember her name. I ran into her after graduating, you know, just around his street. She stopped and she's like, "Budar, how are you?" And she was like very happy to see me, you know. She goes, "Oh my God, you grew up, you know, you're like, you're a man now." She would start talking, joking with me. She always jokes with me like that, you know. So anyhow, I was in her art class, and there was this student who was in a football team, a big guy, and he was like towering over me. He's a big guy, and kept calling me names, and you know, walking down outside, like I'm walking outside class, and he bumped into me with like shoulders, like he bumped with his shoulder, and I just avoided him. I avoided him like for a long time, and I just said, you know what, I'm not gonna beat you up, but you know, if you push it, I will whip you, you know, I'll open you a kind of ass whipping, you know. But anyhow, I didn't do anything. And then I was in was a dark room. There's a dark room in where you develop the photos and it, you know, pictures and whatnot. Anyhow, it's like it's supposed to be dark so the film would develop, right? But anyhow, I was in there, and somebody was hitting me with a piece of paper in my head because I couldn't see. It was so dark, you know, because you see a little bit of a neon light on this side, and you couldn't see anything. Like it was dark, you know. And somebody opened the door because remember they said you're supposed to knock before you go in because you don't want to ruin people, you know, when developing their photo, whatever. Somebody knocked and he opened the door, and I see his hand. He has a piece of paper was crumbled, like, you know, and he was gonna throw it at me. He was just about to throw it at me when somebody opened the door. But I knew it was him. So at this point, I'm livid. I'm like, my head is hot, and I just couldn't, you know, I cannot see. And I said, okay, I'm not gonna punch him first. So anyhow, I contemplated on it and whatnot, and I went. Class ended. I went to the locker to change, you know, because for next class I went to change my books and and I would just had my locker door open, and he came with a couple of his friends. You know what? White people when they have a bunch of people working with them, like buddies and stuff, they're empowered. They feel like they're empowered. They cannot, if they see you in the street alone, they cannot fight you alone. But they can, if they come in with friends, they feel like, oh, we can take this person, you know, because they feel like, you know, good, you know, if there's more, you know, more powerful in numbers. That's pretty much what it is, you know. So anyhow, he came by my locker again, and he bumped into me intentionally. So at this point, I'm already mad from class. I'm already pissed off. Honestly, guys, I don't recall. I don't recall I punched him. I don't remember. Honestly, I do not remember punching him. And I do not remember. Only thing I remember, my teacher was pulling me from the top of him. I was like on top, over his chest. I was punching him. And my teacher grabbed me by my shirt and grabbed me like he literally took my shirt off. My shirt came off. And he goes, "That's it. Go to both of you guys to go to the principal office." And so I go to the principal office, and this time was not a VP. It was somebody else was filling in for him. I can't remember her name. It was a female. It wasn't that asshole, I just told you about him, somebody was filling for him, and she pulled me. No, she pulled me first, and she told me, so and so teacher, because the teacher he pulled me. He taught. Okay, this teacher taught another class where it's a woodworking class. Like it's about, it's stuff like that where they teach you about how to craftsmanship, stuff like that, And she says, the teacher said, you beat this guy, you punch him, and la la la. He grabbed you, you were on top of him, and honestly, I don't remember. I do not remember jumping up because I just didn't see anything. I just saw black. I remember I turned around, I only saw black. I didn't even see his color. It was not white or green. All I saw was just black. I wanted to beat the crap out of him. That's all I remember. And I just started. His friends are like his friends just stood on the side. They didn't know what to do because at this point I would just punch him. All this like anger, I unleashed it on him. All this anger, that for abuse the talking down to me and pushing me around and throwing all the stuff just kind of add up. It was the boiling point. I just beat the crap out of him. So anyhow, she said, you attacked him first. And it was self-defense and stuff. And so I have to suspend you. She was going to suspend me. I let the white guy who picked on me and, pushing me around and did stuff in class. And the teacher saw that our teacher saw all of that happening. And remember when I came out of the room and when he hit me with the paper in my head, and I said to him, stop being rude, and I remember I was calling him out on it. I was telling him, you throw that piece of paper at me again, you'll see what happened. That's what I said to him. And the teacher asked me what happened, and I said to her, ask him. He did this, and because he was in a football team, everybody is like, he's their friend. I am not popular, But anyhow, I don't have to be popular to be right, But anyhow, so she says, so you started this fight. You punched this guy, and I have to suspend you. And it was like, I don't know how many days. I can't remember. It's been so long. And I said, but I didn't. He pushed me first. I said to her, he pushed me on my locker. He pushed me against my locker. I said to her, he did push me first. That's true. He did. But the other part, I don't remember. I just remember just whacking him. When I whacked him and he fell on the floor, I just jumped on top of him and I started punching him, Anyhow, this guy is like 2 times taller than me and bigger than me, And you could tell, they're all these strengths and numbers because all his friends are the football players, cowards. They stood there. They didn't want to get involved, Anyhow, but I said to her, and I didn't instigate this. He started this first. And so she goes, no, that's my decision. This is my final decision. And go get your books, get your whatever you need to get from your locker and stuff. As I was just getting out of her office, walking toward the door, my teacher from art class came back. She goes to me, "Oh, I just heard what happened. The teacher who pulled me on top of him, she told her Buddha and so got in a fight, and they're in the principal office." So the truth. The truth will rise. The truth will rise. She didn't want to listen to me. She didn't want to give me, because even though I was being done wrong, I never went to the principal, complained about this kid been doing this, and I just said, "Oh, you know what? I didn't start anything." The more I kept quiet and didn't want to start anything, the more he did more, But until but anyhow, I was mad. She was leaving. To go to my locker to get my stuff and leave, and my art teacher walked in. She walked in like she goes, "Buddha, are you okay?" And that's what she said. And she goes, "Okay, I'll tell you what happened. This kid, he was sitting outside still. She closed the door, and I was still in her office. I have not left. She goes to her, 'What did Buddha tell you?' And he says he didn't do it. And she goes to her, 'Buddha is right. He didn't do any of this stuff. This guy is a bully. He's been picking on him, saying stuff to him in my class, pushing him around, doing stuff. And he's the bully, not Buddha.' Okay?" And I said to her, and then we're going to suspend him for a week. I think it was a week, because the teacher, when she came and said that, they were giving him more than what I was getting, because already somebody came batting for me, told her the truth. And then I felt bad, and I said to her, "Okay, no hard feeling. Maybe you can suspend him half of the time." And she goes, "No, I'm not going to suspend him half." I said to her, "Suspend him half of the time. Maybe it's no big deal. I'm over it, But I'm still mad, but I said to her, "I'm over it." She goes, "No, it's not up to you, Buddha. He needs to learn. He cannot push people around and do. So I'm giving him a week." And so he went and got his mother. He went and got his mother and stuff. And I was leaving school. The end of the day, I see him with his mother. And she came in and she threw a hissy fit. And she's like, "Oh, my son is, he's this and and trying to, just to paint him as a good person. He's a rotten little kid, Anyhow, so he was sent away for not many days, and he came back. He came back and he see me down the hallway. He want to shake my hand. He want to be my friend, because that's what it took. It took to get a good ass whipping to gain respect, And that's what I understand, I understand that goes along with everybody, when you beat somebody up, then they will respect you, because otherwise they will continue to do you wrong. Okay? That's my lesson of the day, guys. So my brother reminded me of this story, and he also, received discrimination in Canada. He's older than me by 2 years, and so he finished high school before me. And he came in and he did accreditation exam where they assess your education, because he finished high school when he came to Canada. I didn't. So so they did an assessment, and they told him he had to do 1 semester in high school, and then he can go to university. Anyhow, he finished school and he aced it. He's more of a good student, not like me. I always hated school. Anyhow, he aced it, and he has a GPA 4.0 or something like it. It was very high. Anyhow, he got a scholarship. He's got a scholarship to go to university in Vancouver. And when he went there, that university was like, it's in Vancouver, but it was outside the city. It was not in the city. It's like in a suburb of Vancouver. And So they gave him full scholarship to go to university there or whatnot. And he went to class, and he was being ignored by the teacher. The teacher, every time he want to answer something, the teacher ignoring him. And and when he goes to the lunchroom, and if he sat next to people, the people got up and left. Like he sat one time on a table, and it's a big table in school, and lunchroom, whatever, and all these people got up and left. They didn't want to sit next to him, and he was being mistreated by professors and stuff, even though he got a full scholarship. He was a lot smarter than a lot of them, and I think that what started it. I think jealousy, because he was answering all the question right in class, and he was just beyond what he was being taught. He's just smart. And then the professor stopped when he raised his hand to answer a question. He would ignore him. They would ignore him in class. So he goes, I don't care about a scholarship or not. I'm not gonna sit here, being treated like that, even though I'm getting a full scholarship too. They're paying for school, they're paying for the dorm, they're paying for food, they're paying for everything. So he's not paying anything out of pocket. So he just packed up his stuff, and he applied to universities in the US. And he had like a few offers, also full scholarship, to go to university. And so when he got, he finished that semester, and the offer came in, and the following semester, I can't remember, it's been so long. But anyhow, he reminded me of that today. So anyhow, he ended up packing up his stuff and went to the US. He never came back. After he graduated from university, he never lived in Canada again. That's been like over 30 years, So he comes to Canada to visit, but, and so that's what happened. His racism experience as well, because, so back in the day, he experienced more racism than I did. My high school, that's the only two incidents that happened. That's the only two incidents, I just told you, But for him, it was like that. It was, even he being a professor now, teaching in Clark Atlanta University, he's like he taught in Alabama State University. He was also being treated unfairly by another, by the department head. The department head questioned his accreditation and question him for even have a PhD degree. Okay, he likes school. I told you, he does like school. I don't. I hate school. I for my own reason, because I think it's bullshit. I think schools are BS. But anyhow, he has 2 masters, and he did his PhD in Australia, and his PhD is supposed to be 4 years. He finishes in 2.5 years. Okay. So he's very smart. He graduated. I remember when he finished his PhD. He maybe a year and a half into his PhD dissertation, before defending his PhD, the person who was looking after his PhD, he came up to him and he says to him, Mr. Osman, you know what you're talking about. We're giving you he got full scholarship, by the way. Did I tell you about that? Did I tell you about that? Yes, he got a full scholarship, a PhD. He's the only one, he just likes school, But anyhow, even though my entire family are university grads, and I'm gonna tell you why. They love the BS of schools. Anyhow, they told him, well, for the remaining year and a half left we're gonna graduate you in 2 years and a half. Well, he says, pretty much he's gonna finish in a year and a half early. He was supposed to have 4-year PhD, and they said, because what talking about, your stuff. we're gonna just give the remaining scholarship to somebody else who could benefit from it, because you really, like, pretty much they told him he's smart, he knows what he's talking about, he doesn't need to go through a 4 year. You know what I'm saying? So he finishes in 2.5 years. Okay. Anyhow, he finished and left. In the US, the same BS. This, when he was teaching in Alabama State University, one of his department head, he's an Indian guy from India, East Indian, you know, East Indian from India. I'm making this, a point out of this, to tell you they're they're like white people too, Anyhow, because they're all ass kissing people. Indians are ass kissing, and they love kissing white people ass. That's my experience. Anyhow, he told him they had he was putting him down in department meetings, and he was doing stuff like condescending, talking down to him in front of the faculties. He was very rude. Anyhow, and my brother ended up going to another university, and he sued them. He sued them, for discrimination and stuff. And anyhow, they went to court. They lost and whatnot. They went to the previous university in Australia where he got his PhD, and they asked for his accreditation to see he graduated from his PhD. So, by law, if you're no longer working for the university, you're not supposed to do that. If you're no longer working for the university, you're not, because that person is no longer working for you. Why would you go on and trying to pull his education system history to see if, like... So this East Indian guy, he said that he does not believe. He had written a letter, pretty much, the university, but they didn't put it. They sent it from like a Gmail account, a fake account. I'm pretty sure it was him. We're speculating it's him. He says, we're, though and so we were reporting a faculty who's teaching at your school who was not really a PhD holder, and we just care about the quality of the education and stuff. So the school where he was teaching ended up also filing paperwork to send to the university in Australia, where they graduated him a year and a half early from his, PhD. The university, obviously, they came back and they said, no, he is a PhD holder and excellent. Like, he is, top, 4.0, whatever, the highest, accreditation for his PhD. So, anyhow, he found out they actually, they went behind his back and did that. Because they're trying to prove that he didn't have a PhD, even though the university he graduated from said, no, he did graduate from he graduated this year, and they gave him the year, and they gave him, he is, a scholar, and he's succeeded in excellence, and no, there's nothing we can say bad about him. Smart person. Anyhow, that what happened, It's just to show you, racism, you can get it from even, different direction. East Indian, I don't like them because they're kiss ass, They've always been a kiss ass, And, yeah. So that's what's going on, guys. That's all I'm going to say. All right.